Welcome to another episode of Kai-Zen Consciousness. Today's topic is that fear keeps us small. We're going to look at the be, do, have model for success. Welcome, Kai-Zen is here. This is Kai-Zen Consciousness, where you can learn to master your life from the inside out. Okay, let's take a look at this. So fear has been around for human beings since the beginning, basically when the mammalian part of the brain came into being, and it is something that keeps us ultimately away from danger. So when there's danger being sensed, the amygdala fires up and fear comes into protective mode to get you, the being, to safety. Now I've heard it said that fear is an illusion, and a case can certainly be made for that. However, how are we ever supposed to grow as human beings if fear keeps us stuck in a tiny, small space and we're never able to expand our own horizons and develop and become creative? Now, fear keeps us small, and at some point we're going to have to make a leap of faith, jump into the future so that we can expand and live fulfilled lives. Thinking is one of our most powerful tools. We set goals, and then we go through the steps to achieve them. So in order to not have fear come in and block us, we have to focus, we have to intentionalize, and we have to strategize all the time so that we can recalibrate in order to achieve our goal. So let's look at 3 points of contention around fear. The first point is the fear of not being loved. Now this is around us and it consumes us. We like to be loved. It is one of the basic human needs where we want to experience love and belonging. In order to get around this anxiety, you ultimately have to become okay with yourself. And that's not really that simple. However, that's the task at hand. So how do you become okay with yourself? And the answer to that is you have to become okay with your imperfections. I mean, they are what they are, so be okay with that. And secondly, start to look at what your actual strengths are so that you can build on those. The concept of weaknesses shouldn't even come into play at this point. The second contention is the fear of not being good enough. Now this one haunts a lot of people. It creates, as an antidote all by itself, if it is not thought through, perfectionism. Now anyone that's like this, you know very well that this eventually fails. You can never be totally perfect all the time. So again, you have to be okay with where you are in your journey. Okay, so let's review. The first one was the fear of not being loved. The next one is the fear of not being good enough. The third one is the fear of not belonging. And I know I sort of talked about this earlier, but let's go through what this really translates to. The fear of belonging is a human need. We are social animals. We like to be around other people. We like to be validated by other people, which of course implies that we should validate them. We like to be supported. We like to feel loved. So the difference between I want to be loved and I want to belong is that I want to be loved for who I am. I want to belong is a need to socialize. So one is more about other people loving you, while belonging is you being able to belong to the group. So these 3 are the major contentions around fear. So in other words, those are the main basic fears that we then build all kinds of layers upon, that the older we get, the more dysfunction around this we start to have, and you need to be able to get to the core issues at hand in order to address that fear. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to Kaizen this fear business right on out of here. So remember, Kaizen is about small incremental steps. Okay, if you find that the first step is too big and it makes you kind of, then you need to just make that step smaller. Take your time. It's about continuous improvement. So small steps and whatever the time is that it takes. And we'll get into this. First of all, you instinctively and intuitively know when you need to really be afraid of something. That pops out. So that's okay. That's not what we're talking about. So that's time to act. You got to get out of the way of danger. However, if you want to try some steps of how to overcome the fears that are not really dangerous, but you simply perceive them as so, this is where you want to try the be, do, have model. And many people have talked about this, so I certainly am not trying to tell you that this is brand new. However, Be, Do, Have and Kaizen, they really live together. So let's see how this unfolds. Okay, so remember that Kaizen is about small steps, right? So what's so important about small steps? Well, they don't invoke fear, and more importantly, they ultimately allow for retention. So that's how you can actually undergo change, that true change that you're looking for in personal development and personal fulfillment. So who do I have to be? What do I have to do in order to become what I want? According to Jamin Fraser, the model unpacks as follows. So 1, what kind of person would have access to these outcomes? So remember, it's be, do, have, right? So what kind of person would have access to the outcomes you're looking for? You have to picture that. Secondly, being this kind of person, what would you have to do? And then third, the having takes care of itself. So again, be, do, have. Who do I have to be in order to have what it is that I want? That changes what we've learned. What we've always learned is I have to be something. So this is be, do, have. So the fear of not being able to do something instantly diminishes because what you're focusing on is who you have to be. So here are some statements from some famous people. I give them all credit, no one specifically. However, when you kind of blend this all together, here are some pieces of advice, some tools to throw into the tool bag. 1, fear is your ally. 2, fear is your sign to start. 3, fear is a gateway to success. 4, fear is the next thing to act on. 5, fear pushes you to the next level. So these were some tools and some strategies on how to Kaizen this fear right out of here. So good luck with this. Thanks for watching another episode of Kai-Zen Consciousness, where the possibilities are endless.